Welcome to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast with Phil Graham. We help you master Facebook ads and give you an unfair advantage over your competition. Are you ready? Let's go.
What's up, podcast family? Welcome to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast, episode 369. I'm Phil Graham. Today, I'm going to be sharing 3 top Facebook and Instagram ads that you should be running right now. Now, I probably have at least 10 to 20 ads that I love to run, and these are our styles and types of ads with different ad angles. And what I use for a client depends on a lot of different factors and variables. So without knowing your exact business, it's hard to say exactly what you should run, but I want to share 3 of my favorites that should apply to just about any kind of business, whether you're local, whether you're selling a digital service or course or product, or you're selling an e-commerce physical product. For any of those things, these 3 types of ads are very powerful and could really potentially help you guys. Welcome to June, my friends. I can't believe it. Summer is essentially here. I hope you guys are doing really well. Before we jump into the content, if you're looking for any one-on-one coaching to learn ads, or if you're looking to have somebody run your ads for you, for either one of those things, just go to my website, philgrahamdigital.com, or DM me on Instagram at philgrahamdigital, and I'd love to connect with you. So I want to jump right in. As usual, let's keep this short, sweet, and full of value. I'm going to share 3 of my favorite types of ads that I really think many advertisers should be running right now. And ad number 1, I call the differentiation us versus them ad. So what's really important about this, there are so many advertisers out there and also so many people putting out organic content. It just floods the social media platforms. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, there's so much content from competitors and just noise, even if it's non-competitors. You have to find a way to stand out. You have to be different. So this differentiation focus can really make a big difference. And so it really does utilize us versus them. So here's the key that I like with this type of ad. You should be using differentiation on 2 different levels. Number 1, you want to differentiate whatever your product or service is, whatever that is, whether it's a product or service or course, whatever. You want to differentiate what that is and how that's better than the alternatives that are out there. So that's one level. It's differentiating your product or service. But you also want to do level 2, and you want to differentiate your brand or yourself if you're like a solopreneur and the brand is you, whatever the case may be, or your company if you're a big company. So you want to differentiate your product and service, but you also want to differentiate your brand, because many people decide who they do business with, not just because of the product or service that you offer and the problem you solve, but because they connect with the person selling it, or they believe that that person has their best interest in mind, or that that person or the company or the brand has values that they also agree with. So when you run an ad that focuses on differentiating your product and service from what else is out there and differentiating your brand about why people should do business with you instead of somebody else, those types of things can make a huge difference. Now, one of the big keys here is not just to focus on the differentiation, which is important, but the next step is to really communicate what that differentiation means to them and how that benefits your customers and clients. Because at the end of the day, that is what they really care about the most. How will that benefit them? How will that help them? So what I recommend for this type of ad, video is the best. If you're on video, that's going to be ideal. Now, I know getting some of you guys to do videos like an act of Congress. Many podcast listeners love doing video and it's no problem, but I'd say quite a few people also hate it. And so there are other ways to go about it if you don't want to be the one doing the video. You could have somebody else do it, or You could make this work with images. I kind of like using carousels for this because you can have different carousel cards with different images with messaging on there that highlights the differentiation. And then, of course, you have your ad copy to do some of that for you along with it. So video would be my first choice, but then carousel with images would be second. I would definitely recommend you guys run an ad like this and test it because for us, it's been really powerful. The second ad that I'm going to recommend you guys run is something that's so important because you really need an amazing top of the funnel awareness ad. And one of my favorites right now is kind of what I call the Myth Buster campaign. We want to obliterate a myth that someone might have, either about your industry, your product or service, or just something in general that your service or product is related to. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a couple of basic examples so you kind of get a feel of what I'm talking about. What you really want to do is think of something in your industry that is widely believed, but really isn't correct, isn't accurate, or maybe isn't the best way to do something, although a lot of people think it is. And then you want to create an ad that essentially addresses that. And there's a lot of different ways you can go about doing that. For example, like a general way, and this is just one example, you could do this thousands of different ways. But a general way, you could say something like, give me 30 seconds and I'll change how you think about X forever. And X could be like your industry or your product or service, but how you think about weight loss forever, or how you think about making money forever, or your relationship, whatever the case may be, whatever myth you're busting, give me 30 seconds and I'll change how you think about X forever. That might be a good lead in to an ad. Now, it's got to be something to where it's not clickbait and it's got to be true. You got to be able to back it up. And you don't want to do any kind of claims or guarantees or anything like that. But if you're busting a myth, I really like leading in with something similar to that. I wouldn't use that exact phrase, but I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of something to start with, and you can kind of make it your own. Here's another example, and it's a little bit more specific. Here are 3 foods that you thought were healthy, but actually aren't. Now, I wouldn't word it exactly that way either. I'm just kind of giving you examples of kind of what you could say, but you would put it in your own phrasing and wording, obviously. But if you were, in the nutrition space, and there's certain foods that were widely thought to be healthy, but maybe they're not. I don't know. Maybe there's something like that out there. That's something that would bust a myth and really be a good attention-getting hook. That could potentially do really well. And again, you've got to be an expert in your space. It's got to be true. You got to be able to back it up. All those things goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. But I just want you guys to get an idea of kind of what I mean when I say myth busting ads. In terms of my space in the marketing world, I could talk about how a lot of fake gurus say that you can only make money with a really large ad budget. I can show you data that that's not true. It is possible to make money with smaller budgets. And that would be something that would bust a myth that a lot of people falsely believe. But the key here is with these myth busting campaigns, don't clickbait. It has to be real. It has to be authentic. It has to be true. You need to really be able to back it up. But when you do, and everything comes together and it relates perfectly to either your product or your service or your industry as a whole, that can be a really powerful ad. And that's something that we really love to run. And last but not least, number 3, I recommend you guys run and test a hook story offer special offer ad. So I love the hook story offer format. It's been around forever, but it's still so good. And so here's how I go about doing that. Number 1, you got to start with the hook. If you don't hook somebody, if you don't get their attention first, then nothing else matters in that ad. So you got to have a really good hook. It's got to be specific to your ideal audience. It's got to be specific to either their pain points or desires or both. I also recommend you guys combine the hook with relating to your audience or empathy if you're helping solve a problem or both. But when you can do a hook that also relates to them and or has empathy, that's really powerful. And then obviously you have a good story, whatever that may be, that's true and will resonate with them, that you can tell in the ad. It doesn't have to be a long one, but you should have something. And then at the end, there's got to be an offer, and you can create a sense of urgency. The key is make it like a limited time offer, just a sense of urgency. If they don't take action soon, I don't mean in a scammy way. If you don't buy in the next 2 minutes, this is going away. I don't mean that. And I don't mean fake scarcity. I know you guys have seen that where you go to a page and there's a countdown timer and it says you'll never get this price again. And you know, if you go there tomorrow and the next day and the next day, it's going to say the same thing with the timer reloaded back to the original time. That is scammy. I'm talking about real offers with a real deadline, whether it's a price discount or maybe they're getting something free on top of it, but something that's real with a real sense of urgency. So when you use a really good hook with some empathy or desire in there, you tell a nice story, and then you have an offer that's very compelling, that has a sense of urgency, that goes to a landing page that also does the same thing. That can be super powerful. So my friends, I recommend you guys try these 3 types of ads. They're really powerful. They've worked really well for us. Give them a shot. Let me know how they are. Episode 369 is in the books. I've got a lot of good stuff coming up soon. Make sure you guys stay tuned. If you have questions, philgrahamdigital.com is the website, or you can DM me on Instagram at philgrahamdigital, and I will talk to you guys next week. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to the Next Level Facebook Ads Podcast. Please remember to subscribe and share this with all your friends. For show notes, more tips, and to learn more about Phil, please visit philgrahamdigital.com/podcast.